Welcome to another episode of Positive Solutions for Life. This is Peggy Meyer. Today's guest is Bente Vosteen. She is a Mind Valley certified life coach who is dedicated to helping leaders and teams reconnect with their innate sense of purpose and curiosity to create work environments that inspire innovation, collaboration, and sustainable growth. She uses an experiential approach that integrates mind-body communication and actionable insights to cultivate deeper self-awareness, enhance collaboration, and drive meaningful growth within organizations and teams. She also is very passionate about empowering the next generation by nurturing children's emotional intelligence, helping them recognize their talents and their why, fostering their sense of purpose, encouraging them to explore the world with an open, adventurous mindset to build a world driven by creativity, connection, and authentic collaboration. So, welcome to the podcast, Bente.
Hello, Peggy. Thank you so much for introducing me. And yeah, I'm so happy to be here today. And it's a great energy. I can feel it already.
Oh,
Like,
I know it. I know it. I'm so grateful for you to be join me today on my podcast and I just want to have a great conversation. And with that, can you just start by sharing just a little bit more about you, your personal journey, and how it has led to where you are today?
sure. I'm so glad to do that. I live in the northern part of Germany, almost Denmark. I have two sons, they're 8 and 9, and I had a big life shift in 2019. Basically, everything changed from one to another day. I had a deeper, meaningful um, person I met in my life, and through that, it kind of mirrored me that there's something deeper within us than we actually can see on the outside. And this is exactly the topic because I never really knew who I was and I never really knew what my life purpose is. And I was running through life doing great things, but I really never felt this purpose or this kind of way where I want to get to. And from that day on, it changed. It totally changed with me, within me. I had the feeling I can feel everything that is around me. I can create something from my inside that can do better, yeah, if I can tell it that way. And when I started looking for my own purpose, I was looking into children because I felt they are still pure. They feel their pure emotions, and they can still strongly show to us, what it means to be pure to themselves as well and to us. And then I thought, it's a shame when we go through school, when we start our journeys, most of the times we lose that because, we don't develop or we don't discover our own purpose and what we actually, what actually drives us in life. And then I thought I need to do something. I need to create something, something meaningful where children get the chance to discover themselves and find out who they are. And whilst doing that, I met someone, and I had a deep conversation. And this person, he was from Dubai, and he told me, but you are so good, and you worked in so many positions in global organizations, and why don't you give that to adults as well? Because you actually have that gift. You discovered that inside yourself. You do that for children, but what about the adults? There are so many people being empty, and how do they reconnect to themselves? And then I thought, okay, I can actually take what I learned from the children
Mhm.
and create some sensory experiences out of that, and then take people out of their normal routines and try to adapt this there. And
Mhm.
it worked so well. It worked so well. I can tell you like a little secret.
Yeah.
I do totally different sessions, but what I do, for example, if I have a team of 5 or 6 people,
Mhm.
I have one-to-one sessions with them, so pre-course coaching sessions before we get onto the sensory immersive trips.
Mhm.
And I asked them what their favorite food was when they were children. And I just collect that from everyone. I write that down, and most of the times they all have different cultural backgrounds.
Yeah.
And when we get to the hotel, I tell the hotel for the first evening when we have our first dinner, they should prepare that as a starter. But all of them do not know, right? So it's a surprise. And when this starter gets to the table, they automatically have a deeper connection to themselves. And I don't even have to talk about anything anymore because what happens is, they create an energy field where they all, drive back
Mhm.
into their childhood. and they get to stories, they can tell each other, and they open up in a different way. And that's the best start for me, to shape different realities when we go into the sensory immersive or
Hmm.
into the sensory immersion, because they create naturally a way where they can change times, right? So for
Yeah.
sensory immersion, it's really important that you know exactly whether you're in the present, in the past, or in the future. And when we get into the past and we take those emotions from there, there's a natural way how we unfold. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
so interesting. I mean, it's just, it's kind of like, like transporting people back to their childhood and then like getting the best memories. And we can kind of get a little kind of giddy. I mean, you start like
Yeah.
thinking back and you're just like, oh, and,
Yeah.
and you're right. That is just a different type of energy that gets there because we're not kind of worried. We're not stuck in like the responsibility mode because when we're kids, we don't really have those things. But adults, we're just like so focused on what our responsibilities are, what's next, what's next. We get back into that childhood feel. Like
Exactly,
like
exactly.
fun
And
and
it
play.
and it also like our senses encourage naturally because we see the food. This does something with our emotions.
Mhm.
We smell, of course, and then we taste, and then we also get the chance to talk to the colleagues, because most of the times companies, ask me to help.
Mhm.
And what we don't do, especially in leadership, we don't open up about things that lie very deep, because we want to be strong,
Yeah.
especially to the people, we have responsibility for. So this is something that softens us in that moment. And we don't even know why, but it's something that happens naturally. And this is what I love about sensory immersion, because
Mhm.
it's not about, having a big chart or a PowerPoint up. It's something that where I just try to get those surprises up
Mhm.
so that
Mhm.
people can adapt to that and can feel it and go through. And of course there are different parts as well, and we also have those parts where we deep dive with a flip chart or something,
Yeah.
but it's all together. And I think this is what makes it so special at the time. And I think it's also so valuable to do, because we can do any coaching we want, or we can do any consulting we want, but the thing is, what does change within us? It needs to
Mhm.
open us into a certain perspective. And I think also, emotional intelligence is a big word that we
Mhm.
will need to see in the future, because
Mhm.
workspaces change,
Mhm.
people change, and we need to embrace that. And this is something that also happens, when we remind ourselves that how we were as children and
Mhm.
what we actually like to be. And the most powerful conversations between the people are if one of them, what, I actually never wanted to be a leader. I always had I always, and then they talk about it, but then they see the strengths within them and why they actually became a leader, and it makes sense to them.
Mhm.
And they not just, understand in their minds, they
Yeah.
understand in their hearts. And I think this is also a great way,
Yeah.
to connect people. Yeah.
Yeah. Can you tell a little bit more about what like you do for sensory coaching? Because I'm not sure if like, my listeners, I'm not, 100% sure how to
Sure.
like, if I were to explain it to somebody, I'm like, like, does it use all my senses? Like what? Can you dive into a little bit more of that?
Sure,
So like,
sure. So what I do, I surely explain a little bit of what our senses do in our body for us,
Mhm.
because when we are able to use different senses at the same time, we give our body and our soul the chance to be present at that certain moment.
Mhm.
So what I do is I take people out into the desert in Dubai. This is one of the main features, because in the desert there's nothing. There's just stillness. You only have sand. You have sun, and you have yourself. And what we do is I give them space. I give them questions,
Mhm.
and everyone can question themselves. And when we get back out of the desert, we most of the times have a walk, we have dinner, and next morning we get to a place within Dubai. Dubai has so many different places to offer. For example, if we take the Dubai frame, I don't know if you've been to that
No, I
place, but
haven't.
yeah, we have like an old part of the city and a new part. And and we are present. You are always present in Dubai because there's so much to see, so much going on, but you have this traditional roots you can feel within the city, and you have this future related parts, and you can take people and you can tell them to sense all those parts within themselves at the same time. And this is what sensory coaching is for me, because most we head to the future, or we are stuck in the past, but we
Hmm.
don't feel ourselves in the present moments.
Hmm.
And I basically go to different parts in the city and I immerse people there to
Hmm.
understand basically their depths better. This is how I could describe it.
Yeah.
And what happens afterwards is that people discover, for example, when they have the frame and they stand in the middle of the frame and they look into the old part and they have the new part, and I tell them, okay, now we are back present. And I tell them, you need to pick something out of your past, you need to pick something that you see in your future, but
Mhm.
now it's here. They will not forget.
Yeah.
It's an experience they do. And once we also have a little booklet where we work everything out, so
Mhm.
all the places we've been and all the questions I raised,
Mhm.
that's in there. And
Mhm.
what most of the times happen when we do a coaching or a consulting, or we get home, we start our routines and we try to we try to find new ways to indicate things and to shape our new realities.
Mhm.
But then 2 weeks later, everything is gone, or things
Yeah.
happen in our life that bring us to a point where we are just at a different stage
Mhm.
again.
Mhm.
And being there, doing those experiences, and really feeling
Yeah.
how you change in that moment helps you to just create something that is new. It's a new feeling, it's a new
Yeah.
energy you create. And I think this is the other special thing about sensory immersion, because you not only have theoretically a path, you are
Mhm.
there and you have the emotions with it.
Yeah.
And when you are home and you open the booklet, whenever you open the booklet, you don't just open the booklet.
Right.
You're
Right.
actually in the desert. You are
Mhm.
standing,
Yeah.
middle of the frame. You
Yeah.
understand it. You can go back into that reality. And this is a very often something that I think hands-on learning,
Mhm.
experimental learning. It's the same what I tried to invent in schools,
Yeah. Yeah.
because this is what makes us lively. This is what makes us human, to have experiences that shape our realities. And this is also what we try to, when we try to become a better person, what do we
Mhm.
do? We change
Mhm.
our reality. Our consciousness comes from, goes from there to there. And this is the path. But most of the people never step up or never go even one
Mhm.
step. And when they are there, I challenge them to go the steps. And I think
Mhm.
this is something they understand how they feel, and they feel safe in that moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, there's so many things that get, brought up in my mind right now is just like, okay, well, not all of us can go to Dubai and, experience this. But what I pull from that is that oftentimes we're just in our head trying to do stuff. And we're trying to like look at our past, we look at our future. But with the sensory stuff, we're trying to use all of our senses. And we can kind of incorporate that a little bit in our own lives by just kind of shifting some environments. Maybe we go someplace else to think of the past and the future that we want to do, and we call it like little retreats, or we go someplace else besides where we normally do our routine, and
Definitely.
it immerse ourselves into this process of trying to integrate past, present, and future. And like you said, if we journal it about it, if we write some things down, if we ask ourselves some questions, we can reinforce that. And so anytime we do open up that journal, we can go back to that moment and bridge the past and the future and be present. But the big thing too, I think, is being present is something that we have a hard time doing.
Exactly. You're so right with that. But what you just said is so important. And this is it's of course it's not only about Dubai, it's about being anywhere where you just are, you can start with that. And if it's just a small thing, just, coming back to that point, it's so right. If you can decide to be in your office and sit there every day, or you can just decide you do once a week, you go into a cafe and work from there to just get a different reality. And sometimes you will experience that you meet an interesting person, or that, something gets your way or comes along your way that changes your reality or gives a new perspective. And
Mhm.
and but we don't do that. Sometimes we are so stuck, as we, in the past, or in our also in our field where we are. We don't see the need to step out. But if we would do, what we forget is that, if we do, then the energy can change.
Yeah. Yeah, because there's
And
different energies and different
yeah,
locations and different environments. Because
exactly.
we know that for ourselves. We're this type of person at work. We can be this type of person when we're out to dinner. We can be like this type of
This,
person when we're at home. And so we can mold ourselves differently in the environments, and we get to choose that. So
yeah.
we get to choose the environment, and then that energy is a little bit different within us. And so we can just kind of play around with it, right? Like that's the experiential part, is just let's do something a little bit different and see what happens with the energy, see what happens with my mind being present here, or maybe I can really think of some new solutions or new ideas, new ways of doing things, and try them out. And that's what kids like to do, right? They
So
like to
summing up this
explore.
so well, because that's exactly how it is. And this is also, it's so simple, and this is also what I try when I start the sensory immersion with people, and I just give them, headphones to listen to music, and we switch off the light, and we have, a red and a green arrow where they just follow the music they like. I think people sometimes think, what is she doing with us? How crazy is this person? I mean, this is not, but once, they start feeling in, because I just want to get them inwards. I don't want them to use their brain. And as simple as it is, I want them to use their senses, because I
Mhm.
believe you can be the most intelligent person in the world,
Right.
and that's great if you are, but that doesn't mean that you will get anywhere
Mhm.
you like,
Yeah. And I
because
think
you need
that,
to be,
yeah, and I think that goes back to what I think you talked about earlier, is this like who you are, like your purpose, and what's inside you, that intuition, that like, oh, there's something more here. But when we're stuck in our head, well, then there's like that disconnect between our head and our heart. And you're trying to get people to go inward into their heart and get out of their brains a little bit. So,
yeah.
one, I think music can do that. Like, get you out of your head,
Yeah.
because music has so many different ways it can reach our emotions and our inner side. So it's so crazy. But, what you're doing is really trying to get adults to play, like really play and enjoy life.
That's so true. That's so true. Yeah, that's and one of my talks I do this year is the title is called um the best leadership is actually the wisdom we create as children. And I think this applies so much to everything we do. Like, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, talk a little bit about the leadership piece, because I feel like some people say like, no, I don't want to be a leader. But in reality, we are all leaders. Every single one of us, because somebody is looking to us for an answer, whether it's our kids, whether it's our spouse, whether it's, somebody at work, a coworker, whatever. We are all leaders. So why do people just like one want to shine away from that? Like, no, I don't want to be a leader. Like, what's that? But then how do we acknowledge that strength within each of us?
I think it's when we understand who we were as children, and this is exactly how I mean it. Like, when we know who we were as children,
Mhm.
then we understand. Excuse me.
Yeah, that's fine.
This is, my children just came home.
Yeah, yeah, good.
When we understand, what our purpose was when we were young and how we felt,
Mhm.
then we can actually be the best leaders, because we can also see that within others.
Yeah.
You know, this is also like the law of nature. If
Hmm.
we feel something, within us that takes us back to our real purpose and to the purpose we felt as children, because as I said earlier, we were as pure when we were, young, and we knew we would do anything we want, and there was no limit. We were limitless, and this is exactly what it is. We just did the things we wanted to do, and when we can acknowledge them in others, I think this is exactly the part when we see
Hmm.
that when we can encourage also others to feel their child energy, and their kind of lion being to expose everything, then
Hmm.
we are great leaders, because this reflects back to us, and this reflects also to within the companies. And this is what most of the leadership do not understand. It's more about, where do we drive? What are the numbers? What
Hmm.
do we have to do strategically? And I was working in strategic marketing and sales field for years in management, and
Hmm.
this was exactly my
Yeah.
way of working. But I always saw myself as the person who connected people within teams,
Hmm. Yeah.
and I kind of felt the different energies. And I think this is why I also established this kind of coaching, because I
Hmm.
believe once, we see everyone, and we understand, that we need to shine out of ourselves, and that this drives actually growth in business, because, when people know who they are and they understand they're in the right place,
Hmm.
they can do magic anywhere. And this
Yeah.
is what we know, when we have like a passion for something, and
Hmm.
we discover that, and then we start working towards, our goal, because
Hmm.
we understood that's our passion, then it will just be much more successful, because that we are shining, that's what we like to do, that's it's a totally different story. And this is what we forget sometimes within companies, that we should look for that and then build, a team.
Right. So what I'm hearing is like being a leader to ourselves by really understanding who we are and our strengths and like letting those shine, but also like acknowledging the strengths of others and
Definitely.
building them out and letting their light shine. Because when I think about it, we all love the light. I mean, I don't know who does not like the sunlight because I was just like, yes, it's sunny out today. Like I'm like, yes. But that just is an energy that comes out. And if everybody is shining their light, yeah, wow, what an impact we can make.
Definitely. Yeah. This is exactly what I say. And then, when we start with the young ones, and
Yeah.
we say you actually build your set of talents, your set of strengths between 0 and 12, when you're age 12.
Mhm.
So this is for me, when you think how we raise, and we educate children,
Mhm.
most of the times people get out of school and they don't even know who they are, and what they want and what their strengths are.
Mhm.
But when we always keep an eye on, the young ones who, should discover themselves, find their light, or keep their
Mhm.
light, it's
Mhm.
not even, they don't even have to find it, because they
Right.
naturally shine, right?
Yeah.
So, but when we keep that, just whilst, giving them the space to discover, their purpose and their
Mhm.
talent, we will have leaders naturally, because they will lead, and they will have a purpose. And I think and some person at one conference asked me, do you think everyone is a leader? And I think I can say yes,
Mhm.
because this is truly what I feel. I feel that everyone is a leader, because you can't, of course, not everyone wants to be a leader,
Right.
but then that's okay, that's a personal decision. But when we are truly honest to ourselves, because everyone has a light that shines, and when
Mhm.
that light is switched on,
Yeah.
people follow, or people have respect, people act totally
Mhm.
different towards
Yeah.
yourself. And
Yeah. No, that's so true because I think, if we think of leaders as shining their light and everybody has a light, we can have different lights. We can have
yeah,
different strengths.
yeah.
It doesn't mean that because I'm a leader that you can't be a leader. It's just that I might be able to lead in this way because this is my strength. And you might be able to lead in this way because it's your strength. And so if we acknowledge that everyone has the strengths, so everyone can lead, and we can all be leaders towards the same thing in different aspects. The approach might be different,
Yeah,
but but the end goal is the same. Like we want a better life. We want a better world. We want, to just, you know, make sure that we are becoming the best person that we can be. And if we're all like that, oh my gosh, like amazing.
amazing, amazing. You said this so well just now because this is truly what it is because you know leaders are not people to look up to, leaders are humans.
Mhm.
And this is also a point I just understood out of what you said. It's if we understand that everyone could be a leader, but that just certain people have those roles and responsibilities, but you can always treat, your team as leaders as well. And this is what I also feel. And there comes emotional intelligence in, if you get out that light,
Yeah.
and people can become specialists, people can become totally new roles if we truly encourage that to happen.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I think this is also like sometimes companies have, they establish new roles because
Mhm.
leadership got new perspectives.
Yeah.
And I encourage them to do. And HR is telling me, okay, but this was in the first place not your job. But I told them then, but what do you
Mhm.
want? Do
Mhm.
you want an organization that thrives, that has new ideas, that want to grow, or do you want, an organization that stays at the place where they are? And this is exactly, and then okay, movement comes in, and people change, and this is what I love so much, because I think we just need to change the understanding of
Mhm.
of leadership as
Yeah.
well, because leadership is not something that is on a high podest and is something that we can never reach. And this is also what we can tell our children.
Yeah.
And I think if everyone who's a great leader would start any talk,
Mhm.
any, you know, any keynote or whatever with the sentence, "This is what I learned today."
Yes. Yes.
you know this is
Yes.
what I learned today. This is this is who I am because I learned that today. What I learned last week, how exciting was that? It would change the perspective. Also, it would not do a gap between people who are not leadership yet or people who are leadership. And even if you have starters in jobs, who just finished university or just started somewhere to work. I think if leadership would do that, they would understand that even leaders are long life learners, and
Yeah.
it's not something to look up to. And I think we can. It's kind of crushing the ice, or breaking the ice.
Yes. Yes. I know, because it's like I think of that little statement as like I did the best I could with the knowledge and the information I had today, and I made that decision. But like next week, I could have thought that decision I made, was totally wrong because I got new information. So I
Yeah,
like that as like this is what I learned today, or this is how I learned today. If we could just have that conversation at the dinner table every day, I mean, just imagine the exponential growth that we would have. But oftentimes we're stuck in this is how we've done it, and this
exactly.
is
Yeah.
how we need to continue to do it. But with new information, if we're continuously learning, we're learning new and better ways of doing something, maybe more efficient, maybe more effective, maybe just more sensory ingrained where it's coming from within instead of all the ways in our head. But just imagine, like, if you say, like, oh, what did I learn today? And I kind of think about it as like, okay, what did I do that I screwed up, but I learned something from it. That is the best growth, I think.
Thanks. Yeah, and I so much agree to what you just said. Even at the table, when you have dinner with your family, it's something that we should do. And I do that
Yeah.
on purpose sometimes, because
Mhm.
also when we have our bigger family together, I think this is something we can all do to just make also, or take the fear that children
Mhm.
sometimes have, or think they are the only ones who need to learn. No,
Yeah.
it doesn't stop. And it also stops us, if we're at that stage where and this is, I think, what you tried to say, when we say, okay, now we reach this level, there's nothing we need to add to it. it's not good for our health. It's
Yeah.
not good for the way we live, because keeping the brain active and
Mhm.
this should be, this should know a kid that
Yeah.
it's valuable to learn your whole life
Right.
because everyone is doing it and there's nothing wrong about it.
Yeah.
And this is also a perception that most of the children do not have from teachers. And I think if someone has an open heart, and also admits sometimes, oh, I didn't know that, or this is what I learned new.
Yeah.
I'm learning Arabic, and when I'm in school, I'm teaching like only a few hours during the
Mhm.
week
Yeah.
still. And when I'm there, I always tell my children what I learned, because
Yeah.
I also kind of feel that it encourages them. And then they always asking me, why do you do that? And I say, because I just think it's good, to learn something new every day. And
Yeah. Yeah. And it feels so good to like, yes, I did that. I feel like we could have this conversation for hours. But I want to be respectful of your time too. But like, okay, so people have heard you talk, are interested in where can listeners find out more about you and your coaching program? And heck, who knows if they want to go to Dubai with one of your sensory immersions, like where do they find that information out?
Thanks, Peggy. Yeah, they definitely find me on my website. So it's just my name, without anything in between. So Bente Vosteen in one word. And they can go to social media. I'm on Instagram, at Bente Vosteen. That's also all in one.
Mhm.
And I'm on LinkedIn as well. And of course, if anyone has any questions, I'm up for calls. You can always, write me an email and ask or just schedule a call through my website, and I'm happy to step on and explain more. Or what I also do is like, I have partners in most of the countries in Europe or even in the Middle East for now. And I also take others with me to partner up for special sensory immersion. I had like golf players with me. We had like someone who was good in meditation. It depends what kind of teams we take,
Yeah.
and so this is all possible because I think the more exposure people get in this few
Mhm.
days we are there,
Mhm.
the better they have the chance to understand themselves. Yeah.
Awesome. Awesome. And I'll put all those links in the show notes so people can
Thank you.
easily, click on those and get in touch with you. So as we wrap up today, is there anything that, you want to talk about that we haven't talked about or any thought or quote that you'd like to leave the listeners with?
Yeah, definitely. One of the things I always say is, what's most important for us to move forward is to listen to your heart and to your gut. And this is something I didn't do for years. I always did what I thought is the right thing to do, but we all have those senses. Use the senses. That's the best way to understand your heart better, and it will do so much for us all.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you so much for joining me today, Venta. This has been great. I hope all the listeners have found out just a little bit more about like, hey, how to tune into our senses, how to tune into our intuition and heart to be able to bring out our light and shine it for all of those to see. And so thank you so much for joining me.
Thank you, Peggy. It was lovely talking to you, and you have such a great energy. I hope we get the chance to talk some more. And yeah, thank you,
Definitely.
thank you for today. It was a pleasure meeting you here.
Thank you so much.